Hey everybody, it's Matt from endsickness.org. Today we're going to talk about how to use chlorella to detoxify heavy metals from your body. This is something I had personal experience with myself. I used it for extended periods of time and saw great results, so I wanted to go ahead and share this information with you. So first, I'm going to talk about my story, my metal toxicity issues, my history. Then I'm going to go over the countdown strategy I used for the mental head game, to get yourself prepared for something like detoxing heavy metals. And I'm going to talk about the heavy doses I used, how I stayed steady with the doses, and the importance of doing so. Talk about the results I got after 90 days, before and after testing. And I'm going to talk about how heavy metals helped me to reduce some symptoms, but not all. So it wasn't really the root cause, and it may not be the root cause for most of you. And then lastly, I'm going to go over the key points to remember that are critical from this video. So first, let's talk about my story. I had, by the time that I had been tested for heavy metals, I had already lost 60 plus, 70 plus pounds. I was having food allergy reactions. I was having stomach issues, couldn't go to the bathroom on my own for up to 2 years. I had to use enemas, rashes all over my body. I'd been diagnosed with autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia, various other conditions, and I really was not seeing any progress. So I went and saw a doctor whose theory was that the heavy metals were prohibiting my immune system from being able to recover and to be able to feel better. So I chose to believe him, and do a heavy metal detox. Initially, I started to do the EDTA IVs. They were too hard on my body. They made me feel like I was going crazy mentally, and they made me feel physically just really sick. I would be recovering for days afterwards. And after about 5 or 6 of these IVs, I realized this is not helping. It felt like it was actually making things worse, so I had to look for another option. And that's when I discovered chlorella. So I read a lot about chlorella reducing heavy metal levels online, but there wasn't a ton of studies at the time, and the only person really talking about it was Dr. Mercola. I figured, why not give it a shot? So I went ahead and said, in 90 days, I'm going to be able to remove all the heavy metals. And that was a goal of mine, and that's where we get to the countdown strategy. So what I did, which I thought was essential to my success, was I wrote 90 on my hand, and every day I woke up, I would put 89, 88, 87, and I got myself in the headspace that 90 days from now, 50 days from now, however many days there was left, I was just being thankful for the fact I had no more heavy metal issues, that was no longer my main issue. So the countdown strategy I felt was critical because of the law of attraction, what you think you attract, and I believe that the countdown strategy was absolutely critical for me attracting the right circumstances to get rid of the metals. So I want to mention that first and foremost. So given I had this countdown strategy and I wanted to be fully confident in what I was doing and the probability of success in 90 days, I went to really high doses and steady doses of the chlorella, okay? I'm talking about 8, 10 of these things at a time, 3 times a day, all right? This is somewhere between 10 and 15 grams or more per day. This is what I thought was going to be needed. It's what my gut was telling me was going to be needed to be able to get over this. I started to see some immediate benefits from taking that much chlorella. Started to have less reactions, a little bit less, not a ton, but less reaction. I was able to go to the bathroom on my own for the first time in a couple years. It was really amazing. But I stayed really steady and heavy with the doses. I realized if I started to detox and feel like I had that metal detox going on, that rather than stop the dosing, I needed to just take more, and it would help bind to it, bind to it, bind to it. So the heavy doses of 10 to 15, even 20 grams a day was absolutely critical to getting rid of those metals in my stomach and the surrounding organs, etc. So I do say, if you're going to do chlorella, you got to go all the way with it, right? Otherwise, you're going to have limited success, or you won't be able to say that you made enough progress that it was worth it. So my results after 90 days, okay? I had thought in my head that 90 days, all the metals are going to be, or metals are not going to be my main issue, right? That I was going to be rid of most of my metals. Well, 90 days later, we did a provocation test where they ran an EDTA IV again, tested my urine to see what metals came out, and believe it or not, 85 to 90% of all my metals were reduced. Mercury, lead, cadmium, nickel, the list goes on, okay? I believe aluminum as well. So it really did work. In 90 days, I had reduced my levels by 80, 90%. And this is, ironically, this is exactly what they found in the study with Dr. Mercola, said 85% reduction over the course of, I think it was 90 days, and that's where I got my initial goal from. So it was, it was absolutely amazing. I also had been doing colonics at the time. That did help to get rid of some of the waste that was in there. Had some really amazing colonics that were literally blue coming out of me. So that was another thing I did over the course of those 90 days. But other than that, it was just the heavy doses of colostrum, the colonics, and the faith. The faith, I really think, had a lot to do with it too. So after the heavy metal reduction from the chlorella, I still was sick though. I'm still really sick. I wasn't able to gain weight back. I still felt really sick and tired all the time. I still felt issues under my rib cage, still had stomach issues, etc. A lot of that resolved once I started to drink the raw colostrum. That was just the absolute game changer. There was a lot of other things I did, but until I got a hold of that raw colostrum, I didn't have as much success as I would have liked. So heavy metals can be a contributing issue, and in a lot of cases it could be a main issue for some people, but it wasn't for me. Yeah, it was a contributing issue. Yeah, I saw a lot of relief when I get rid of the metals. Like my hands stopped shaking, my head stopped going so fast, the racingness of the head. I just felt more control over my mind. I felt less shaky, less stressed. I was able to sleep better. These things all did improve, but there were a lot of other things that didn't improve too. So don't be fooled by the concept that heavy metals are the root cause of everything, because I think they're just part of an issue that spreads across various domains. Most people typically have bacterial infections or fungal, parasitic infections, and heavy metals, and they have food intolerances. I mean, the list goes on. So just want to make sure I emphasize that heavy metal toxicity is a key contributor, but it may not be the sole cause of all your symptoms. So lastly, key points to remember. I had some of the worst metal toxicity scores, okay? These were 300 to 500% above the reference range. And this was no clear indicator of what was actually even fully in there, So I had a lot of metal issues. I used the countdown strategy combined with the heavy doses of chlorella. Felt like it made a big difference for me, really big difference. And the test showed it, after 90 days. I had 85, 90% reduction in all my metal levels. And this was a legitimate test. This was a urine provocation analysis where I did an EDTA IV before and then collected the urine. So broken cell wall chlorella is the one that I use. That is the one that I think is the most beneficial because the cell wall is already cracked, it's easier digested. But broken cell wall chlorella really truly works. It does for heavy metals. It's not some gimmick or some, holistic nonsense. It actually works based upon my personal experiences. But it's not going to be the end all, It's not going to fix everything in my opinion. So I want to mention that, So if you have any questions about chlorella, feel free to reach out to me. You can go to my website, endsickness.org. Please remind yourself this is not meant to be medical advice. This is not meant to help diagnose or treat any condition. This is for educational purposes only, based on my personal experiences with my clients, and the scientific evidence that exists out there. So hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.